everyone. One more round of applause. It took me 2 tries, but I did stick the landing in the chair. Hopefully not too many people saw that or laughed at me or anything like that, right? Cool. Yeah, it's like a Tony Hawk video, right? All right. Oh, shit. I wasn't supposed to go that fast. Give me a sec. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about Expo. Has anyone here used Expo before? Oh, cool. Okay. And how many people have used React Native in general? Okay, cool. All right, so if you've used React Native and not Expo, you should go use Expo because you won't hate React Native as much anymore. It's pretty great. So a little bit about me. Yeah, just kind of get the elephant out of the room. I am 7 feet tall. It's not anything to write home about, especially when you suck really hard at basketball like I do. I can't dunk. I can only jump like 6 inches, which isn't great because then it's like 3 more inches to dunk. But it's shattered dreams. So I'm the founder and CEO of a company here called BoltSource. We build developer tools, specifically mostly around GraphQL and Kubernetes, but we also build front ends with Expo. Before I was the CEO of BoltSource, I was actually the head of pod services at a company called Gatsby.js, which is a static site generator built on top of React. So if you've used or looked at Gatsby Preview, that was kind of the thing I helped build while I was there until I got bored. And yeah, my GitHub's there. You probably don't want to look at that though. All the stuff is really bad. So cool. Yeah, so React is going everywhere. 2 or 3 years ago, it was just in the DOM. Now you have React Native, and you even have Ink, which allows you to write basically CLI apps with React, which is kind of cool, or JSX anyway. It's super cool. So what did life look like before React Native? Well, it wasn't that bad. If you cared about performance, you had a code base for every occasion. You had a code base for Windows. You had a code base for Android. You had a code base for BlackBerry if you cared about BlackBerry, which most people don't. I cared about BlackBerry, but not really. And then you have code base for iOS and all these different providers. If you don't care about performance, meaning you work at an enterprise shop where your customer is not the person using the application, you can use Angular and Cordova, which is not a great experience unless you like clicking buttons and it takes like 5 seconds for the button's animation to actually show up. Some users don't care about that. My users do, so I don't like using that. So then React Native came on the scene. I think that was in 2016, 2015, somewhere around there. It was a while ago. And it was a great step forward because with React Native, you didn't really need to worry as much about native code changes. Like you can kind of write most of your UI stuff in the same language with like if conditions basically to handle like layout differences between iOS and Android and so forth. Because obviously each ecosystem has its own requirements for how things should and should not be laid out and so forth because users are accustomed to that. And it wasn't that bad. The main problem with React Native was that you still had to bring to town all of the various build tools required for just building it natively. And a lot of times you have to dive down into the native code to make things work correctly. Like you have to install a module and then you're like, well, why the hell am I using JavaScript? I might as well just write it with native code. So yeah, wait, I thought this was supposed to be JavaScript. This is not JavaScript. This is also Objective-C and Swift and Java, or God forbid Java. Anyway, I'll stop insulting Java. So life with Expo, it's just JavaScript. You don't have to have Xcode, Android Dev Studio, or anything like that installed on your machine. You just write JS. It comes with a standard library sort of thing right out of the box, stuff like a QR code parser, all sorts of cool components that it's called Expo Kit. It just works out of the box. Unless you're doing anything like crazy animations, like 3D effects and stuff like that, like where you want to do like something crazy with 3D, you're basically guaranteed to never have to touch native code ever. In fact, you can't. If you want to use native code, you have to eject it. You can still use Expo Kit, but then you have to actually start managing the builds and stuff yourself, which isn't great. And yeah, like you can build your app for distribution on top of, and that's not great because apparently that's covering my screen, on top of iOS or Android using the Expo build server, which is basically a managed, you can think of it as like a managed Android and iOS build environment. So you push your JavaScript bundle up to that with a single command, it builds it, and then it returns an APK, and it returns what's the other thing? I forget the ELF file, I don't know, I can't remember. It returns the build artifacts for your 2 environments that you care about because no one cares about BlackBerry. So yeah, that's basically the whole presentation. I spent like an hour this afternoon. I haven't touched Expo in probably a year. My front-end guys have, I haven't. But it took me about an hour to build basically a form for lead generation, like a mobile app that basically has the company logo, has some things, it has a button to submit, some cool like transitions and stuff like that. It took me about 200 lines of code with Expo to build this. It submits to a little microservice built on Now that attaches to Copper, which is the CRM we use in our company. So, oh yeah, good point. Okay, can you guys read that now? No? A little more? A little more? Cool. So I'll go back. Here's the entire app. 200 lines of code, an hour. And here is the microservice that actually fields the request from the app to aggregate the leads in Copper, the CRM we use. It took me about an hour, again, to build this. After the talk, if you guys want to poke around with it and get kind of a feel for what you can build with Expo, we'll actually have it at the back of the room on a little iPad. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Sorry, this really was a lightning talk. So. Any questions? I cannot on my machine. It is on the iPad. Because I'm a cheapskate and I didn't pay for that little subscription that lets you run it in the browser. So. What's up? Probably, but built in an hour. So, any other questions that are? No? Cool. All right. Cool. It will be on repo on GitHub this afternoon. I will, I don't really know how to distribute it, but it will be there, both the service and the app itself. Cool. Do you have a question? Yeah, what part of Expo is free and what part costs? Last time I checked, it was completely free. I think they're going with the monetize later approach, which is pretty famous in Silicon Valley. Is it a server cloud? What's that? It's a cloud service, yeah. So there's a CLI tool. You can log in with the CLI tool. They kind of take the Docker approach that they have like a repository of apps you can look at and examples. So like you can publish your app on there. You can also package it to be distributed to the iOS store if you want. But yeah, they're taking the Docker approach and they're giving away the barn for free. So, yeah. What's up? They will manage your iOS key for you. Yes. The last time I published something was like a year ago. But yes, last time I did this, they managed all the keys for you. They ask you if you want to do it yourself or you want them to do it. And I think they just take your login information or something if you want them to do it for you. Cool.